Hello Netflix nerds, my name is Derek and welcome to the Netflix Knowhow, the movie review show here to help you stop browsing and start watching. Today we're going to be taking a look at the documentary film Blackfish, the environmental drama Promised Land, and the Robin Williams dark comedy World's Greatest Dad. So grab some snacks, grab a couch, and let's jump on into the Netflix verse. First up is Blackfish, a documentary film directed by Gabriela Cowperthwaite. The Netflix synopsis reads, "This fascinating documentary examines the life of performing killer whale Tilikum, who caused the deaths of several people while in captivity." That's right, we do documentaries here, folks. While the story of Tilikum and the tragic deaths caused by him are the glue that hold this film together, that's not really what the film is about. It's about SeaWorld. And SeaWorld kind of sucks. Now I'm sure there are many of you, including myself, who have many fond memories of SeaWorld and their signature killer whale performances. But you know what? The cake is a lie! And by cake, I mean SeaWorld. SeaWorld is a total lie. So it turns out SeaWorld is kind of a terrible place for killer whales behind the scenes. Yeah, sure, they put on a great facade about how much they care about the whales and all of the great things they do to benefit them, but at the end of the day, the thing that they really care about is a little less wet and a lot more green. They're business guys. They're here to make money. To them, the whales are nothing more than big old swimming piggy banks, and piggy banks don't have thoughts or feelings or deeply rooted family bonds to worry about. Spoiler alert, orca whales are actually a lot more complicated than piggy banks, something that the film explores quite heavily. Am I coming off as a tree-hugging hippie yet? Sorry, it's just... it always sickens me to witness the unfathomable levels of cruelty that humans are willing to go to, all in the name of a buck. So yeah, this film definitely strikes a chord with me. Makes me want to free all the willies. Thumbs down for SeaWorld, but thumbs up for Blackfish. Next up is Promised Land, directed by Gus Van Sant and starring Matt Damon, Frances McDormand, Rosemarie DeWitt, and John Krasinski. The Netflix synopsis reads, "Taking advantage of hard economic times, two salespeople for a natural gas company come to a small town to buy drilling rights from the residents. If I have learned anything in life thus far, it is that hot sauce goes on everything and you should never, ever trust a salesman." This week is apparently an issues week because we're jumping straight from animal rights straight on into environmental issues, and this week's hot button topic is fracking. Promised Land is actually kind of a unique environmental film in that it takes a much more level and fair-minded approach to the issue of environmentalism, choosing instead to focus on the powerful rather than the powerless. Because of this approach, I actually felt that the film presented a well-balanced and accessible message that didn't come off as completely overbearing and insufferable. Even though I personally fall squarely on the side of hugging the trees, in case that wasn't already obvious, I completely understood the viewpoint of the gas company salespeople and why they believed what they were doing was actually a benefit to these struggling communities. Now, the motives of the actual gas company, well, they had a lot more to do with finances rather than helping the actual people, and the film makes no attempt to sugarcoat that. As for the story, it did kind of fall into that Dances with Wolves and Avatar structure, where a member of the oppressor comes to empathize with the oppressed and ends up switching sides by the end. Now, I'm not saying that that structure is bad and should never be used. I actually find it to be very powerful when executed well. But the problem with this movie is that it doesn't try anything particularly new or intriguing with that concept, and you could tell from the very opening shot exactly how the film was going to end. Speaking of the ending, that sure was a neatly tied little bow sitting atop that box full of complicated ethical and moral dilemmas. It wasn't exactly a dissatisfying ending per se, and there was actually a very unexpected and insightful twist that I really appreciated, but it still felt very simplistic, especially for an issue as complicated as this. The film does understand that this is a very complicated issue, and I really appreciated that it presented this issue from multiple angles and viewpoints. Sure, the film may have its issues, but by focusing on the good intentions of the individual characters on both sides of the issue, it actually creates a very accessible and warm advocacy piece that I think will have something for viewers on every side of this issue. At the very least, I think we can all agree that trees are kind of important. Thumbs up. Finally, we have World's Greatest Dad, written and directed by Bobcat Goldthwait and starring Robin Williams, Daryl Sabara, and Alexie Gilmore. The Netflix synopsis reads, "After his son dies in an awkward freak accident, high school poetry teacher Lance ghostwrites a suicide note to spare the family embarrassment." I think a better title for this movie might have actually been World's Worst Son. Seriously, the son is basically the equivalent of a dumpster fire filled with rat carcasses and fecal matter. Not that the father is exactly a shining beacon of moral righteousness and good character. Come to think of it, everyone in this movie is kind of terrible in their own little ways. Everyone is completely self-absorbed, blatantly hypocritical, and almost gleefully shallow, with maybe 2 small exceptions that I can think of. I know this is all sounding like I absolutely hated the movie, and sure, I may have hated the individual characters, but that's kind of the point. This is a dark comedy after all, and it's exactly the kind of twisted satire I would expect from a film about a father who uses his son's perverted accidental death as a springboard to achieve glowing fame and fortune. As twisted as that sounds, and believe me, it's more twisted than an amusement park funnel cake taken for a ride on the Tilt-A-Whirl, it's also a very telling commentary on our culture's obsession with celebrity status. Still, despite the awful deeds of the father, it is impossible not to love Robin Williams as the titular dad. Only a person as charismatic and talented as Robin Williams could bring a sense of empathetic humanity to what is otherwise an often frustrating and cringeworthy character. On that note, he's really the only one I'd feel comfortable calling a character in this movie. Everyone else pretty much feels like a flat cardboard cutout with no depth and maybe one defining characteristic. The humor is also kind of hit and miss, relying on abrasive gross-out humor and uncomfortable awkward moments a lot more than I would have liked it to. But the jokes that worked had me genuinely laughing, and even the more emotional moments managed to melt my heart just a little bit, and I'm basically a tiny ice giant. Whether or not you like this film is going to very much depend on how you feel about dark humor in general and how willing you're able to tolerate an excessively vulgar first act. If you can stomach those elements, this film is a real treat and a highly underrated performance from the late Robin Williams. Thumbs up. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching, guys. As you can see, I have a new setup here in the background. I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep this yet, but I'm gonna try it out. I used to record in a basement, which was nice because I have my man cave set up down there, but it's not really good for sound quality. You know, it's big, it's open, it's real echoey, there's a lot of random noises. So I'm trying this up here in my room. We'll see how it goes. Also, I'm trying daylight out. We're gonna see how that works. The problem with daylight is that people tend to be awake during the day, and they also make a lot of noise. You know what else makes a lot of noise? Birds. Oh my God, the birds. Anyway, thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate your support. If you like this review and you want to continue to see more of them, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I also have a Facebook page now, so be sure to check that out. Like and follow that if you have Facebook. I'll be posting updates on there as well. Thanks again, and I will see you guys all next week. Enjoy your Netflix hunting, guys.